Every single day, you're using this incredibly powerful force that runs your entire digital life. It's the ultimate multitasker, a master conductor, a silent hero working tirelessly behind the scenes on your phone, your laptop, even your car. And chances are, you probably never even think about it. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this unsung hero, your operating system.
Think about it. It's such a simple action, right? You tap an icon on your screen and boom, a moment later, your app is up and running. But what actually happens in that split second between the tap and the launch? It's not magic, I can tell you that. It's this incredibly complex dance between software and hardware, and it all kicks off with one absolutely crucial component.
So let's do it. Let's pull back the curtain on that process. To really get what's happening when you tap that icon, you first have to meet the invisible conductor that's orchestrating the whole show.
Okay, so take a look at this. This diagram is basically a perfect map of your computer's world. Way up at the top, that's you, the user, and way down at the bottom, that's the raw hardware. The processor, the memory, all the physical bits and pieces. Your apps, like your browser or your games, they live somewhere in the middle. But look closely. See that critical layer sandwiched right between your apps and the hardware?
Yep, that layer, that essential go-between, is the operating system, or the OS. It's the entire reason everything else can work together. Seriously, without it, all that powerful hardware would just be a very expensive paperweight, and your apps wouldn't have a clue what to do.
So what does this layer actually do? Well, its main job is to build a bridge between two completely different worlds, the world of our user-friendly software and the world of that complex, low-level hardware. Let's break down exactly how it pulls that off.
Now, the formal textbook definition says it's an intermediary, an interface. And yeah, that's true. It sits in the middle, it manages communication, it translates requests, it makes sure everything runs smoothly. But I think we can make that a little more memorable.
You can really think of the OS as having two main jobs. First, it's a master translator, which is a concept called hardware abstraction. And second, it's a super strict traffic cop, which we call resource management.
This slide just illustrates that first job perfectly. Your apps, they speak a really simple language. They say things like, save this file or play this sound. But your hardware, it speaks a totally different language, a complex one made of circuits and electrical signals. The OS is the universal translator that takes the simple command from your app and turns it into the complex instructions the hardware needs to actually get it done. It basically makes the complex simple.
But it's not just translating. Oh no! The OS is juggling an incredible number of tasks every single second. It is the ultimate multitasker, and I think you might be surprised by just how much it's really doing behind the scenes.
Remember our question from the start. When you click an app, this is what happens. In a flash, the OS finds the program's code and loads it into memory. It wakes up any hardware it needs, like your screen or your speakers. Then, it carves out a tiny slice of the processor's precious time just for that app. And only then does it start running. And it continues to manage that program's entire life until you're the one to close it.
And what about all your files? Yep, that's the OS too. Every single time you create a folder, save a document, or delete a photo, that's the OS at work. It keeps track of where every last piece of data is stored so you don't have to.
Your mouse, your keyboard, that new printer you just plugged in, guess what? The OS is in charge of all of them. It provides a standard, simple way for all your different applications to talk to all these different devices without needing to know the nitty-gritty details of how each one actually works.
Now this one is huge. Your OS is also your system's bodyguard. It puts up walls between different programs, so if one app crashes, it doesn't take your whole computer down with it. It manages permissions, and it stops unauthorized programs from messing with your files and memory.
Okay, so we've seen what the operating system does as a whole. Now, let's zoom in, like way in, to its absolute heart, the part that does the most critical work of all.
If we go back to our diagram, right in the dead center of that operating system layer, there's an even more fundamental piece of software. This core component is known as the kernel.
You can think of the kernel as the engine within the engine. It's the one part of the OS that is always running, and it handles the absolute lowest level, most essential tasks. It's the thing that decides which program gets to use the processor and when, and it meticulously manages how all your memory gets used.
A great way to think about this is with Linux. The Linux kernel on its own is like a super powerful car engine. But an engine by itself isn't a car, right? A full Linux operating system, like Ubuntu for example, takes that kernel and adds all the other parts you need to make it a complete, usable vehicle.
A steering wheel, seats, windows, the user interface, system tools, all that stuff.
So, when you boil it all down, this is really the key takeaway. The operating system is that master translator, that traffic cop, that invisible layer that takes a pile of incredibly complex hardware and magically transforms it into the simple, powerful, and useful device you rely on every single day.
So the next time you unlock your phone or launch an app, maybe, just maybe, you'll pause for a split second and give a little nod to that unsung hero, that invisible conductor working tirelessly to make everything just work.